News in detail now. In New York, a judge rejects motion to dismiss Donald Trump's hush money case. The trial is set to start on March 25th, marking the first instance where a former president faces a criminal trial. DD India's William Denslow reports from New York.
Heading into court, Donald Trump said the case against him amounted to election interference. Despite similar claims from his legal team, Judge Juan Merchan said the case will go to trial as planned on March 25th. Trump faces 34 charges relating to accusations that he falsified business documents in order to cover up hush money payments to a porn star during his 2016 bid for the White House. Justice Merchan said in his ruling that these are serious allegations in a complex investigation. If convicted, each offence could bring with it the maximum of 4 years in prison. The former president denies wrongdoing and says the 4 separate criminal cases against him are politically motivated, designed to sabotage his re-election campaign. Merchan says the trial here in Manhattan is expected to last around 6 weeks. Meanwhile, in the state of Georgia, a hearing is being held to determine whether a relationship between prosecutors constitutes a conflict of interest. District Attorney Fani Willis hired Nathan Wade to run a case against Donald Trump and 18 other individuals accused of trying to overturn the results of the 2020 presidential election. A witness on Thursday testified there was no doubt that Willis hired Wade after the start of their relationship. The defence argues the DA should be disqualified from the case. Such an outcome would mean the appointment of another prosecutor, who would then decide whether to continue with the case, make changes to it, or even drop it altogether. Willis says her relationship has had no bearing on the case, and that it ended back in August. William Denslow in New York, reporting for DD India.
And US presidential candidate Nikki Haley campaigns in Texas to win over deeply red state voters. Her next challenge is the South Carolina primary, where she challenges Donald Trump for the Republican nomination. DD India's Nick Harper reports from Austin, Texas.
Nikki Haley is fighting to survive. The former US ambassador to the UN wants to become the Republican nominee to take on Democratic President Joe Biden in November's presidential election. But standing in her way is the former President Donald Trump. He's already had some big wins in some of the state nominating contests, including big wins in Iowa and New Hampshire. Next weekend, they'll face off in South Carolina, and the polls already suggest Trump has a considerable lead, potentially with as much as 65% of the state backing him, compared to about 30% for Nikki Haley. Now, there had been speculation that if she were to lose in South Carolina next Saturday, she would drop out. But the fact that she's campaigning here in Texas suggests she's in it for the long run. Texas's primary is not until March the 5th. That's Super Tuesday, when more than a dozen states across the US hold their nominating contests, including California, where she was campaigning last week. All of it suggesting she intends to stay in the race until and potentially beyond Super Tuesday, and she's trying to win over voters here in Texas. But she may be disappointed. Polls suggest that only 20% of Texans support her, compared to 80% for Donald Trump. She's hoping to prove she can be an alternative to the former president. She says she has far less chaos in her campaign compared to Donald Trump. So there's certainly tenacity in her campaign, but reality may catch up with her in the coming weeks, when it becomes clear that Donald Trump has overwhelming support to become the Republican Party's nominee. Nick Harper in Austin, Texas, reporting for DD India.